Well, we are live on this Friday. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you watch this episode, either live or recorded. I'm Marion Spears-Carr, and this is the Healthcare Thought Leadership LinkedIn live show. And this is a new series we're starting today with my friend Felipe Campino. Felipe, we had such a great conversation about LinkedIn the other week that you and I decided, because everybody was like, hey, that was such a good one, we want to learn more, that we wanted to start this new series. Felipe, introduce yourself to the audience. And if you're watching live, post in the comments and let us know where you're watching. This is First Fridays Leveraging LinkedIn with Felipe and Marion Spears-Carr. Felipe, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Marion. Happy Friday, and it's great to see you. I'm glad we're doing this again. For those of you I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Felipe Cofino. I am a passionate HR executive. I'm heading up people and culture currently at PRB, which is Population Reference Bureau. That does just amazing work with data, population, and working with just amazing projects around the world globally, around health, around equity, around environment, and everything in between. And I'm just a passionate HR professional that likes creating a great work culture while doing the best to help people grow in their career and helping people outside the company also find the right job with the right company and the right culture, and using LinkedIn to get us through that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And Felipe and I actually met in Clubhouse, in an audio room, Clubhouse, several years ago. And we've been colleagues ever since, and really looking for ways to connect. For those of you who don't know me or watching the Healthcare Thought Leadership LinkedIn live show for the very first time, I'm Marion Spears-Carr. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in the executive search space for over 30 plus years. I just landed an opportunity recently I landed it myself. I started my own firm called Inflow Executives. We're an executive search and leadership solutions firm, and also a learning firm for leadership. And it's just a great way for me to get involved with you is through the LinkedIn platform. And I'm just really, we want to talk about today. And if you have questions, let us know in the comments. I know people are checking in already. Michelle checking in from Fort Lauderdale. Michelle, glad to have you with us again. If you're on LinkedIn or Facebook watching live, let us know where you're watching from so we know where you are and we can answer your questions or just engage with you. So one of the things that we talked about last time, Felipe, was that fact that when a lot of people approach LinkedIn as simply their portal for job search. And once they find a job or land a job or have exhausted that part of their efforts, that's the last that they really use it. And their account tends to go a little bit, I don't know what the term
like dormant,
is.
almost like dormant.
Dormant. Yeah, I couldn't think of that word. The word dormant. Yeah, it just kind of sits there. But what you and I talked about last time was about how we can leverage LinkedIn to learn. And one of the things I would love for you just to kind of talk a little bit about that today, about some things that you use LinkedIn from a learning perspective. And you and I talked a little bit about one of the new features. I'd love for you to talk about that. So let's start the conversation around how can we use LinkedIn as a learning tool for us. And then as you check in, Monica's checking in from Alpharetta. Thank you so much, Monica, for being with us today. And anyone that's watching live, let us know that you're on the call. Felipe, talk a little bit about how you use LinkedIn and what are some of the things that you're doing, and I'll share with you as well how I use LinkedIn to learn.
Absolutely. And, Marion, thanks for asking that, because, learning's been part of the greatest journey on LinkedIn is because, not only the tools that they offer you, but learning from others. And for me, first and foremost, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention LinkedIn Learning, because a lot of people just don't understand the benefits of LinkedIn Learning and how much is available to us. I mean, it's one of the most robust learning platforms out there. And in addition to that, you have access to it free if you have premium. And a lot of people forget about that. But additionally, there's a lot of other ways you can try it out for a trial basis. But in addition to that, there's other things that LinkedIn's done to create learning. And obviously I do a lot of audio rooms. For me, I'm always sharing information. That's a great way for people to come in and learn our lives that we do, Marion, here. People come here to learn. But also for us, when we do these audio rooms or these lives, we're doing our own research to make sure that we're staying up on relevant information, on trends.
Exactly.
And so that keeps us sharp. So it keeps me learning while hopefully I'm sharing information for others to learn. But most recently, the new thing that came out this week from LinkedIn was gamification. For those gamers out there, now don't get excited.
I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to digging in on that. Let's talk about gamification. Felipe, tell us a little bit about what LinkedIn has just released, and tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. So for those of you who are gamers, this is not like one of those. It's not a Halo type of game. It's really more of a brain teaser games that you have out there. And they rolled out 3 games, and it's really something that it's a chance for people to engage, have fun, maybe attract some of the younger generation to LinkedIn that hasn't really checked it out. But we all talk about being engaging, doing things differently, and this gamification is added a little bit of that on LinkedIn. They actually came out with 3 games. The one's called Pinpoint, one's called Cross Climb, and one's called Queens, and they're each very different. One is about it's kind of like the wordly mentality of solving the puzzle for the day. So it has that kind of component. One's about having words that have 3 of the similar letters each word, and you have to put them in order so that it matches. Like the word prior has 3 letters to the word after it, and then you have to figure out the clue above and below it. So it gives you a lot of thoughts like that. And there's ones where it's just very analytical, and you're like, okay, you have rows and columns, and you have to make sure that you place these things where they aren't in the same column or the same row. So there's a lot of acuity skills that you're tapping into, and it's fun. And then after you complete it, you're like, okay, you've made it for today. Let's see if you can beat your score tomorrow, and you can share it with other people and get competitive.
Yeah.
But I think it's just introducing just a small taste of gamification, because if LinkedIn's going in the direction where I hope they're going to tie in the link gamification into LinkedIn Learning and have games that, because when you do that, for anyone who has not tried gamification and training, one of the biggest benefits, besides making it fun and engaging during the training, is when they leave that training room or that training class, however it was built, and they practice it on the game.
Yeah.
As the administrator, you can view and see if they're improving their score or if they're not. If they're improving their score, great. They're actually learning after the classroom, which is not always the case. They're fighting just to retain the information. If they're not improving their score, that's a little, note to yourself saying they might need some additional training, or maybe refresh the training because they didn't grasp the concept as well as other people. So to me, I'm a big proponent of it. Have fun. There's a lot of naysayers out there right now on LinkedIn saying, no, LinkedIn's a professional platform. Don't do this. Like, you know what? LinkedIn is definitely something that has provided us a lot of insight, and we definitely want to be able to make it fun.
Yeah, that's exciting. And for those of you who don't know, I've been involved with the world of gamification from a learning perspective for a while. And with the new company, Inflow Executives, we're going to be launching a partnership. Can't talk about it too much now, but in June or July, we'll be launching a partnership with a learning company that's created games around flow theory of psychology. And it's a leadership training program that we'll be launching and talking more about. It's all based in the gamification framework, and super excited about that. And it's good to see that LinkedIn is kind of coming on board. One of the things I want to share with everyone, by the way, Christy's checking in from Monterey, California. Hey, Christy, she's one of my American College of Healthcare Executives connected. Also, we have Samana's checking in. She goes, "Oh my, OMG, you look different." I shaved, Samana. That's the difference. I've shaved. That's all. I've just shaved. I'm getting ready to do some training outside, and I've shaved. But that's hilarious. She's checking in. Samana is our partner at the Workplace Wellness Collective, so it's glad to have her. Another LinkedIn user checked in and said hello to the host and everyone from Atlanta, Georgia. Got a lot of Atlanta, Georgia checking in as well. So one of the things, to go back to LinkedIn Learning for a moment, it is a premium feature, but it also, you can get a free trial for it, and you may find it is pretty interesting. For example, one of the things most recently, and they're talking about business writing. I'm having to write more content, particularly for the development of our own website with the new company I just launched. And I've been using a lot of the resources, and I've been reading a lot of the articles over in LinkedIn Learning about business writing and trying to improve my skills in that space. So that's really one of the ways I learned it. And the other thing that I've used LinkedIn Learning for is just understanding around, there's a lot of information around how to network virtually if you kind of dig around in there. Simana's checked in and said, happy to see amazing humans talk about learning, and also hi to Felipe. Thank you so much. We're glad to have you. And Marlene, thank you for the congratulations on the new business. We're very blessed to be able to launch Inflow. So we're really moving forward. Felipe, one of the things that you and I, our backgrounds are similar. We have a lot of similarities, but one of the backgrounds is from a recruiting perspective. I'm in the executive search and recruiting space. You have done a lot of internal recruiting and a lot of different platforms. Let's jump over for a moment and talk a little bit about, for those people who might be watching the show today, who don't want to let people know that they're looking for a job, but what are some things that people need to do on their LinkedIn profile that'll make them more attractive to those of us who are looking for talent through the LinkedIn platform? What are your thoughts on that, Felipe? Let's talk about that for a minute.
Oh, that's a great question. And Marion, can you hear any background noise from me?
Not anymore. There was a little bit, but it's gone now. Yep.
Yeah, somebody was doing some trimming in the backyard outside, and I was like, "That's really loud." All right. So, great question. Obviously, there. I think you and I talked about this earlier. There's a lot of people out there that use LinkedIn just for job search, and once they found their job, they move on, and they don't have anything else. They don't look at LinkedIn anymore. But there's something they told me early on in my career. They said, start recruiting for jobs once you fill them, because you can start building relationships with people. And then once you actually have an opening, that relationship's already there. I kind of would share that same philosophy for job seekers. Once you get your job, don't stop networking. Don't stop building relationships. This is your prime time to do it when you don't have an ask, when you're not trying to get something out of the relationship. Because that way, once you do have the ask, you don't feel awkward, like, okay, we've never talked, I'm going to reach out to you. So that's the first and foremost. Keep on networking. Do you need to be a content creator? No, but will you stand out more? Absolutely. Out of the 1 billion people on this platform, only 1% of them are actually using the content creator. Excuse me 1 second. I'm going to close this door over here.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. And this is, for those of you who are watching, and maybe this is the first time you've ever watched a LinkedIn Live, this is typical things that happen when you're on live TV or live broadcasting. I've written a whole topic on why I hate leaf blowers, because it tends to be a leaf blower outside. Back in the day when I had an office in town, it usually would be the gentleman with the leaf blower right by my window. Don't have that situation up here in the mountains now where I live. If it's a leaf blower, I'm probably using. If you have questions, please post them about anything around LinkedIn. One of the things that I use LinkedIn for a lot, Felipe, is to learn about the companies that I'm engaging with. Not just from a client perspective, but say, for example, I'm going to a conference, and I'll be attending a conference, matter of fact, next week, that's all private equity backed healthcare related industries and companies, and also the investors in that space. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to make myself familiar with the audience, make myself familiar with the companies that were going to be there. So I use LinkedIn in that perspective, because most companies now, that yes, they do have websites, but they also have LinkedIn pages that you can find information about them, information about the people attending, et cetera. And one of the things that I try to do is really just learn about the companies that are going to be at the events that I'm attending. That way I'm kind of preloaded with questions, or I'm preloaded with ideas. And that's one of the things I do. Let's see. Somebody's checking in with a comment. Let's see what we have here. Sumana says, wait, only 1% are content creators.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about where that number came from, Felipe. And I love that comment.
It's been one of those things where that stat has been consistent. Even when, LinkedIn was at 800 million users, it was still only about 1%. It might have deviated between 1% and 2%, and sometimes it would go below 1%. But yeah, there's a very small percentage of people that are actually creating content on a consistent basis on LinkedIn. That's why if someone says, I think I want to do it, I encourage them, because to me, it's an amazing journey if you do it right, and you have fun and you learn and you stand out so much. Look, I will say my new job that I got, hands down, my LinkedIn profile helped me with that. After they met me and they did some more research, it kind of solidified some of the stuff I was saying. But once I joined the company, even then it added value because they saw the skills I had. They're like, oh my God, we could use this skill here if you're willing to help us, or we'd love to learn more about this, or could you do that for our employees? So the ripple effect of doing that isn't just to be seen. You might be hired, you might be fitted for a better job, you might get paid a higher paying job. So I encourage people to use that and have fun with it, because not that many people are doing it. Now, don't feel pressure. Again, the majority, 99% of them are not doing content, but what you can do is, like you said, Marion, comment on other people's posts. If that alone is a phenomenal strategy. Just comment on other people's posts. And when I say comment, not the little like, hey, great post, or nice job, or congratulations. Add that value that shows your insight and your knowledge so that you can be seen as a thought leader in that subject. When you do that, that makes you stand out. The LinkedIn algorithm loves it when you are commenting on other people's posts, and it's going to make you more seen. And when people comment on my posts, I don't know about you, Marion, but they stand out to me. I remember them. I appreciate them. And I almost always reply back to them, almost always. So it's really beneficial.
I loved, and that is a real good lesson about how to leverage that piece of it. I'll give you an example. And there's a question from Marlene I want to bring up, and we're going to answer it. But one of the things, I'll give everyone a real world example. My world, obviously, is, as I've discussed already, is in the world of executive search, but primarily with healthcare, with patient-facing companies. And I work literally all over the country and have so for a long time. But the other area I work in is at board advisory work, where I help boards of directors create training to improve the level of the board members, or possibly put together projects for sustainability with their contracts with their CEO. There's a bunch of different pieces. I recently got a request for that information, not because I was advertising it, not because I had posted that's what I did. It's because I was engaging in a conversation on LinkedIn on someone's comment around board governance. And they're like, oh, it sounds like you have a pretty good understanding of that. Would love to know more about your background in that regard. Turns out they were looking for someone to do board governance work with them. And that's how it started. Not me trying to advertise, not me posting an ad saying, I'm the board governance guru or whatever it might be. I was just engaging with my thought knowledge in that space, and someone reached out to me. That is a great way to get involved. And if, by the way, for those of you watching that want to be potentially chosen for speakers on panels with your local or regional chapter of whatever organization you're in, or the subject matter area that you are an expert in, or even have a depth of background, maybe not necessarily already at the level of expert, but you are knowledgeable, the more opportunities that you post around content establishes your expertise. It makes you seen as someone who is knowledgeable in that space. So here we go. Marlene's got a question about how are you defining content in posts. Felipe, I'd love for you to answer. And Marlene, that's a really, really great question. How do you define content or posts? What would that look like to you?
So great question. So basically, content and content is a very large umbrella, and really anything that you do on your page, on your profile page, where you create a post, whether it be a text post, an image post, video, doing a slider, which is like a carousel, if you will. Any of those combinations of things. If you just pick one and just do one, you are a content creator. That is content. What makes you a creator is you're consistent about it. And consistency might be once a week. Some people do 5 days a week. Some people do every day. It's about what's right for you. What I always say is, don't let LinkedIn bully you. Promote it and do it at your time and at your pace. But the other thing you mentioned about getting seen for speaking events like that is that when you get that opportunity, like I just put up the PRB logo here because that's where I work, and when I'm on events and speaking events, I want people to know who I work for and what I represent, because it is a part of who I am also, and their mission and values match mine. So why wouldn't I promote that? And when people see you doing that on your own, they see that as a value, and if they see you promoting the company you're at and you supporting it, they're like, whoa, I want them to do that for me. And so that adds value there. And when you have a company that appreciates what you do, that adds value too.
Yep.
But yeah, going back to the content thing, it is something that it's up to you what you create, but the methods and tools, it's really, the world's your oyster. You have a choice of what you want to do on LinkedIn as long as you use one of the tools.
Yeah, one of the things, one that Marlene, opportunities too is also to find articles in on Becker's healthcare, for example. Now that LinkedIn doesn't necessarily like you directing the readers or the viewers off of the platform, but you will get a lot of views if you really summarize what that article looked like and then put the link in the comments. LinkedIn doesn't necessarily crush you on the algorithm on that. That's another way to, like, for example, let's say AI is a really hot topic right now. You read an article in Forbes or somewhere that is easily able to share. You can share the link. You can summarize that article about AI in your post, put the link in the comments, and let your readers know that it's going to be in the comments. And it's really a great way to you don't have to create the content from scratch. You can actually just summarize other people's content from magazines or industry knowledge. That's a good way to get started. Also now LinkedIn has an AI tool that'll help you write your post. You can write a post and then hit, rewrite with AI, and I've used it recently because my posts tend to be too long, and I'm trying to shorten them a little bit. So I use the AI to give me suggestions on how to shorten certain sections of the post. I get the idea from it. I intend to write it myself anyway. I don't actually just post the AI post, but that's another way to leverage the tools that are here. So that's a good way to use that. Scott Rich has got a great question. Felipe, we're both got the recruiting background. I'd love for you to talk about it from the role that you play, but also I'll speak on Scott's checking in from Avery Partners. What is a protocol for reaching out and engaging with sales targets or candidates? For example, if you're recruiting or if you're not connected, what does that protocol look like? And what are some ways that you can connect with people that you're not necessarily immediately a first connection with, Felipe?
Yeah, that's a great question. Scott, thank you for asking that, because, at the end of the day, as a recruiter or if you're a salesperson, nothing's worse than just sending out a message and not getting a response. But the reality is people are tired of the pitch slap, the sales pitch slap, the recruiting pitch slap. It just gets old. And so what I've always said, and I said it earlier, build relationships before you ask. And look, I get it. When people have a position to fill or a quota to fill, I need that person now. I get that. That's why I said earlier on, and if you take anything away from this, it's this: start building the relationships after you close a deal, after you fill the job, and get to know those people that you might need in the future, whether it's a future candidate, a future client. It's one of those things where the relationship building, it's the thing that probably takes the most time, and that's why people don't want to do it sometimes, but it's the most valuable asset, because it's, people say all the time, it's about who you know. And I always say, it's not about who you know as far as it being, oh, this is my brother, I'm going to give him a job, or this is my, best friend, I'm going to give him this deal. No, it's about getting yourself out there, people knowing what your strengths are, what you bring to the table, how intelligent you are, so that when they have an opportunity, they think, wait, this person knows what they're talking about. I want to reach out to them. And that's what you're doing. But it's if you're just always going out there for the quick sale or the quick, recruit, and it's just, it gets ugly and you end up looking bad. So it takes more time, but that's what I would recommend. And one other thing I wanted to mention, Marion, is earlier on when we were talking about the whole issue about people. Actually, you know what? I'll mention that later. Go ahead and share your thoughts about Scott.
Yeah. Hold on to that topic. And Samana's taking us in another track. I want to talk about it too. By the way, if you're watching for the first time, this is called the Healthcare Thought Leadership LinkedIn Live Show. We've started a new series called LinkedIn Learning, and First Friday's Leveraging LinkedIn with Felipe and myself. So this is going to be every first Friday of the month. So mark it on your calendars. Please bring your questions and comments. And I knew it was going to run long, but I want to go back to Scott Rich's question. One of the protocols for if you're using LinkedIn for recruiting, obviously, you may be using LinkedIn Recruiter, so you have access to a larger pool of talent that you're not going to be first connections with. One of the things that I have found really helpful, if there's a content that's a high value target for my search, that if we have someone in common as a contact and I happen to know that person or have engaged with that person, this is where preloading the process and staying engaged with your network is important. My network's not as large as yours, Felipe, but it's pretty big. So it's hard to stay in contact with everyone. But one of the things I do, if there's a high value target that we have that has a shared connection to the person that I want to reach, the person I want to reach, I'll reach out to that person and ask them, hey, can you introduce me to XYZ? That's been particularly lately on a search that I'm doing where the people that I need to get to are very, very busy and they're probably not on LinkedIn and probably are getting thousands of messages and emails, et cetera, is I've tried to leverage my network. That's where building your network is so important in that process. Felipe, you had another comment, and then I want to come back to what Samana is talked about go back to the content creation. And by the way, I hope you're enjoying this. Please let us know what you'd like to talk about in future leveraging LinkedIn First Friday discussions. We wanted this to be for you. And I invited all of my Georgia contacts. So if you're from Georgia, let us know. Or if you're watching anywhere, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Felipe, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I love what you said there, because I think when we reach out to people, it is something that it's important for us to build those relationships, like I said. But I think, to your point, when you have those opportunities, like you mentioned there, so often we are so stuck on getting it now and hurrying up and making it quick. Yep. And we just have to realize that it does take time. And we have a lot of other questions, so I want to tap into those. And at the end, if we have time, I'll dive into the other stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about the question from Samana, and Samana's really sharing in the comments about how you build relationships. It's important, but one of the things she talked about was burnout and too much content, how to share content without overfeeding the algorithm. I like that, the algo, the alligator, if you will. What are your thoughts on that? And I have a comment I want to make about that too, Samana, where I felt like I was overdoing it, and I rolled it back quite a bit, and actually my SSI score went up, not down. And we'll talk about SSI in a minute. It actually went up, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, again, Felipe, it goes back to not letting LinkedIn bully you. I mean, to me, I've always said, if I have content and I have an idea or something strikes me, I'm going to post. But there are times where I have too many ideas. Like this past week, my CEO retired. We have a new CEO that joined. There's a lot of excitement. I want to share about all the great work the PRB is doing. I have too much content to share. Guess what? I don't need to do it all this week. Let me take time. I can talk about these things next week, the following week, the end of the month. It's that pressure, like, well, it just happened. I need to post. Okay, we are not CNN, y'all. Okay, people are not waiting for our post to move on in life. Okay, it is not that crucial. So let's be kind to ourselves. Let's realize, do what's important. Do it on your time. Look, LinkedIn. You're not getting paid, and you're not gonna get fired from LinkedIn if you don't post by today. So put your priorities in perspective. My primary job is my priority. I'm going to take care of that. That pays the bills. This is something that I enjoy doing. I'm going to do it on my time. But if it starts burning me out, I'm no good for myself or anybody else. So it's something that's really important. And if you need to take a break, take that break. LinkedIn has great features where you can turn on the out of office kind of message, so people know, hey, you're on vacation. You're not going to be responding or active on LinkedIn, and that's okay. What I always tell people, if you want to be a content creator, don't get off LinkedIn for more than 2 weeks, because then the algorithm will start just thinking that you're kind of gone. And when you come back, you're going to have to fight your way back. Now, if you need that time off, do whatever you need to do. But if you're one of your priorities is to be, putting out content and seeing and growing your network, that consistency, that 2-week break is great, but more than 2 weeks, it might start impacting it.
Yeah. So to Samana's point, what I was talking, the SSI score is a thing called the Social Selling Index. It's a LinkedIn algorithm or an evaluation of your activity on LinkedIn. It has 4 components. and this is the thing I always talk about is what LinkedIn's looking for. The 4 components are: one, first, have you established your professional brand? And what does that look like? And for those of you who are internally employed, your branding might be driven by your company that you work for. But what about your personal brand within the context of the work that you do? That's what they're really talking about. Are you establishing that you are a thought leader in that space? The second component is the second part of the 25% of the score is, are you finding the right people? And that's a lot of that has to do with if you're sending out connect requests, are they accepting the connections that you're sending out? Are you sending out connect requests for the specific areas that you work in, et cetera? Is your network being built in that regard? I tend to I send a lot of connect requests, so that part of my score is one of the lower because I send out so many. Just from a volume perspective. The third component, and this is the one that really is the driver for those of you who are online, if you're wanting to get more, is do you engage with insights? And Felipe talked about not just saying, hey, that's a great post, but actually sharing something with that post. One of our circle of within the Workplace Wellness Collective with Samana and Felipe is Meredith Grundy. Meredith Grundy teaches a speaking class or leadership communications class, and part of it is focused on learning how to use improv skills, improvisational comedy skills in your speaking. And one of the things, one of the games within improv is called Yes And. It's where you take someone's what they say and you go, yes, and you add to that. If you think about it, now stealing this from Meredith, I wish you were online. I hope you're watching this. Meredith, you taught me this, is you could take somebody's post and repost their post, agree with them if you are, but add to it. That's another way. So are you engaging with insights? And the last part of the last component of the SSI score is building relationships. And that's what we've been talking about here. And that's the highest part of my score. The reason I think my SSI score went up by me posting less content is I shifted more to the engagement side, commenting on other people's content. Instead of me going, I got to get 5 pieces of content out each week, I'm just doing maybe 1 or 2 pieces of content max a week. But I'm shifted that time for the engagement side, and my SSI score went up. I hope that answers your question. And we're almost out of time. There's one other piece that I wanted to share. Felipe, I'd love your insights on this. You said something earlier about, in your last comments, about on behalf of your company. I think there's an amazing opportunity to leverage LinkedIn to improve things that are going on with your company. For example, let's say you're going through an IT implementation process where you're changing out from one system to another. A lot of people might be posting about that very topic. Here's a way for you to go learn is go to LinkedIn, use the search block, look for posts on the topic of IT implementation in the context of what you're doing. And my gut tells me that you're going to find a lot of people that are in the same trenches that you are trying to learn or further down the path. And it's a great way for you to connect with them and learn from them. Felipe, what are your thoughts on that? On using LinkedIn to help your company?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's something that, I've done employment branding. It's one of the big things I do. A lot of companies don't realize how beneficial LinkedIn is to their business. LinkedIn is the #1 lead generation platform out there. It beats TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, everything. People, reality is if you're running your company on those other platforms, yeah, you're getting views, you're getting some good PR, you're getting some visibility, but is it really moving the needle forward as far as your business? It's getting those clients, it's finding those candidates. You might, but not at the level you will of LinkedIn. So for me, every company I've joined, it's been one of those things where leveraging LinkedIn to promote the company as a recruiter, it helped me fill jobs because guess what? Recruiters, we're selling the company, we're selling the job. I don't want to consider myself a salesperson per se, but I am selling the company and selling the job every day. So when I'm promoting it on LinkedIn and sharing the pictures, sharing the events, the fun that we do, that's making people look at our company and saying, that's a company I want to work for. Well, guess what? I didn't have to talk to them. They saw that just from looking at our page. That's the power of using LinkedIn to promote your company. Whether it's a small company, you're an entrepreneur, or you're working for a larger company, it's only going to help in your job, ideally, whether you're trying to get clients or candidates, or just help promote the company to get more business.
Yeah, I agree. And so if you're using LinkedIn as your business tool, as your business development tool, Samana again also made a comment about that. Very, very important to think about is if it's our business tool, we got to be here. We got to be creating, value from our experience on LinkedIn. If it's one of our ways of doing it, and another way to develop business, and this is, and I'm using this technique. I'm very open about it. Is the companies that I want to do business with, the companies that I really want as my next customers for the executive search or the learning development piece or the advisory work, whatever it might be, or the revenue cycle component, whatever it might be, those are the companies that I have on my list to make sure I engage with. I engage with their post. I share their post. I talk about what they're doing, even if they're not a client. I make sure that I'm looking and connecting with people that work at that company. That way my name is familiar with them, and they go, and so if they happen to hear Inflow Executives or Marion Spears Carr, oh, I think I know that person. I'm very open about that. It's a really good way to build and grow your network from a business development perspective. And by the way, we talked about this on our first show, is don't connect with them and send them a sales pitch. Connect with them so that they're familiar with you and you're familiar with them. My whole world is problem solving. That's what I do. That's ultimately what I do. What do I do? Is I solve a problem. Well, how do I know where the problems are if I don't pay attention to the marketplace and pay attention to the companies that have those problems? And that, to me, that's how I leverage the platform. And anyway, hopefully that's a good answer to the business development strategy.
And can I have one more thing to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I want you to. Yep.
Because, with the business, my last company I worked for, they didn't understand the value of using LinkedIn for business development. They didn't understand probably the value of business development as much as they should have. The PRB where I work at right now, their business development team is top notch. They get it. They understand it. And they are leaning heavily into LinkedIn. And so coming in fresh, it's like, wow, they get it. They understand it and they're using it. And that's something and they're benefiting from it. My last company, they're not doing so well right now. They might be acquired in the future because of this. So, so those little things of thinking the future for your company, whether you're small or large, that's where you want to take the opportunities to really see where the power of LinkedIn can help you grow that company and promote it. Because if people don't know what you're doing, if you don't tell people what you're doing, they might not ever hear about it.
Yeah. And for all of those people that are watching the show that might be in the healthcare space, you're like, well, how does this help my company as a healthcare provider? How does it help? Here's obviously I'm not going to give you statistics or some research paper, but here's what I know is from a recruiting perspective, I have a higher probability of recruiting good candidates for my clients if they can readily and easily find information out about that company, about their culture, about where they place their values, where the things they're involved with. So if I go to LinkedIn, for example, and I pull up a company that one of my candidates might be looking at, for example, maybe it's not my client, my client, maybe they're looking at them. I want to know what that company has got to offer to the community. What are they doing? And I've got a client right now, so excited about them because in the community they're in North Carolina, because they really talk about their engagement and why the engagement with the consumer is so important. And you can literally go to LinkedIn and find that where that engagement is taking place. Like you can see what they're doing. That's a really good piece. Anyway, we're running out of overtime. I knew we were going to be overtime. We're already 10 minutes overtime. Hopefully, if you're still watching, please let us know in the comments. If you're still watching, if you're not, you watch the replay, please let us know. Felipe, last thoughts. And if you'd like to hear more specific topics, we kind of went all over the board on leveraging LinkedIn. And that's what we're going to do on Fridays, the first Friday of every month through the summer. Felipe, last thoughts, and we'll wrap up today's conversation. We could go on for another hour, I know.
Yeah, easily. But, I think last thought is just, again, build those relationships. Make sure that you look at LinkedIn and all the tools they offer and see which ones you want to use for your journey. Whether you're a job seeker, you're looking for clients, or you're just trying to promote your business. It's there for you to use. It's up to you to take advantage of it. So, but most importantly, if you take away anything, build those relationships before you have an ask.
Absolutely. Nail the relationships before you have an ask. Absolutely. The number one lesson to learn from today's LinkedIn class from Felipe and myself. First Fridays, leveraging LinkedIn with Felipe Campino and Marion Spears-Carr. I'm Marion Spears-Carr on behalf of Felipe. We hope you have an amazing Friday. Please post in the comments. Let us know what you thought of the show. Let us know how we can be of better support for you. If you're not connected with me or Felipe, please hit that follow and send us a connect request. We want to be connected with you. We want to be engaged with you. This is what we do, and we really enjoy it. Have a great weekend. Felipe, have a great day.
Thanks, Marion.
Absolutely. Let's see where we are. Let's go. Goodbye, everyone.